The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. It's Court Radio and it's July the 10th. Looking like it's going to be a beautiful day today, folks. Sit back and enjoy an hour of Court Radio. I'm here to answer your legal questions one at a time. All you got to do is give me a call at 215-227-2727. Boom. Yeah. Gotta shorten this. I think we got to shorten it. What do you think? No. That's probably, if you add those, what is that called? A lead-in or I forget the name of that now. An intro. There you go. An intro. It's Sunday morning. Come on. If we shorten the intro over the course of a year, we might get another 2 or 3 questions answered. And my people deserve to have their questions answered. 215-227-2727. Give us a call. We're going to answer your legal questions one at a time. Whoa. Hey, good morning to you too, sir. Okay. There's a whole lot going on. Not much of it very good news, so let's get it going here. There's been 2 murders this week by police on what, for all intents and purposes, appear to be innocent black men stopped for a normal interaction with the police that culminates in their death. We have Alton Sterling in Minnesota, or no, not Minnesota, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, yeah. And Philando Castile in Minnesota. And social media plays a role in these deaths because both of them were filmed in real time and displayed for the world to see. And yet, I'm drawn to the conclusion that that's not sufficient, at least, to secure a prosecution, a criminal prosecution of the officers involved, because we have other instances of this type of brutality, and it didn't result in a criminal conviction. You just only have to look a little bit south to Baltimore in the latest round, where the police were driving at a high rate of speed with a prisoner in the back seat, unsecured, and essentially broke his neck and caused his death. And they were able to walk on that. They may not walk on it civilly. Folks need to understand that there's a difference between criminal prosecution. The state brings an action, ultimately hoping that the person they brought the action against ends up in prison to pay for the crimes that the state alleges they committed. But then there's a civil action. That's where you come to an attorney like myself, where the family brings an action to compensate and punish the wrongdoer financially. And those 2 actions are independent of one another. And perhaps, what needs to happen is these policing agencies and the police involved need to be sued, and the cities that, obviously it's a big, it trickle down, or trickle up. You have in Philadelphia, it would be the Philadelphia Police Department, but it would be ultimately the city of Philadelphia who's responsible for an unjustified death. Now, let's understand something also. I'm not here to say that this is a reflection of policing or police in general, because I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. This is clearly, there are clearly many majority, more officers who put their life on the line every day and who do the right thing, and for whom we owe a debt of gratitude for keeping us safe. That goes without saying. There are, however, some bad apples probably in every police department in the country. And I think systemically the problem we have is that they're not identified, uncovered, and dismissed. And they're allowed to ferment in these departments around the country, and they make it harder for all the good police officers because now everybody's suspicious of everybody. And so we really need, I mean, on a global scale, we need to identify those who have no business carrying a gun and a badge in this country, and they're out there, and no legitimate police officer can tell me or anybody else that it doesn't exist. Of course it exists. Of course it exists. We see it happening day in and day out. And so we need to identify those people and get rid of them, period. Thank you. 215-227-2727. I know my listeners have comments about this. And, you know, the psychopath who was a sniper and who kind of glommed onto what was a vocal but peaceful demonstration isn't going to change this narrative, okay? No, violence begets violence. It isn't going to solve any problems, and that is a story. But it's not what this is about. This is about identifying the fact that people of color are being killed by a small percentage of police officers around the country without justification. And we've seen it. And they're not being prosecuted successfully. Juries are giving them the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the criminal prosecution. And so civil actions change and can move mountains. And I mean, you see it, you know, companies, negligent companies that put products into the stream of commerce that hurt us, that kill people. They're punished to the point where they have to change their behavior. Well, here we are. We need to punish the cities and the police departments and the police officers involved to an extent that they must identify the bad apples and do a better job of getting rid of them. 215-227-2727. If you've got comments, I'm listening. Bring them on. We're going to talk about some legal issues in addition to this. But right now, let's take a caller. Let's talk to Tracy from Alany on line 5. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. What do you have to say about what's going on?
What I have to say is I feel like the Caucasian police officer needs to learn how to come into the urban environment and work with the urban people. You can't take someone who was raised in, let's say, Summerdale or up in the suburbs and bring them down into the urban communities and expect them to understand what we're going through and what's going on. They will never understand it. And as long as the police academy doesn't teach them about the urban aspect of the city or the suburbs or the surroundings, it's going to always be problems. You can't just take them in an area and tell them it's drugs and it's danger and it's problems. You have to let them understand the people. Caucasians and African Americans will never understand each other. So until it's understood, but on both parties and both sides, it's going to always be a problem.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I don't know that I would go so far as to say it's all African Americans, all Caucasians, but I definitely think that our prejudices on these individuals, on these officers, and it is a systemic problem. You're right about that.
It is.
But sorry, Tracy. Your point is well taken. You're breaking up, but thank you for calling in and your comments, and we'll see what other people have to say about that. But yes, I think people's prejudices play a part in this, and but I think also, and I said it before and I'll say it again, a very small minority. But who cares how small the minority is if we're not doing something to identify it and get rid of it? Otherwise, it's just the minority. It becomes, all that we see and experience. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Rich from Blackwood, New Jersey. Good morning and welcome to Court Radio.
Thank you for having me this morning.
My pleasure. What's happening in Blackwood, Rich?
Not so much in Blackwood. I work in law enforcement, not police per se, but I work in law enforcement. And I just wanted to just get out there that I have to defend myself every day to my friends and some of my family members. Doing that job is tough. I know people, when they see these videos on social media, they're not seeing the whole story. Even though they think they see the whole story, or they're just seeing the parts that they, quote-unquote, need to see. They're not seeing the whole story. And I know snap decisions, I've made decisions similar to like this in the past, and it's not always as bad as it looks on these videos. And I give these officers credit for going out there and doing their job every day. It's a dangerous job.
You won't get a fight with me on that, but even you in law enforcement have to admit that there are some bad apples in the police department sprinkled around this country. Not everybody deserves to be carrying a gun and a badge. And so we have to identify who those folks are, because guess what? I mean, yeah, we might not get the entire story, okay, on every one of these incidences. But I think from a global standpoint, we're seeing this more and more. And I think that there's a way to de-escalate problems, or there's a way to escalate them. And what we see are officers who are escalating, becoming a part of that problem instead of finding ways to de-escalate. And it comes to the point where they feel it's necessary to pull a gun out. And it didn't need to get to that point, but they needed to use some tactics and some methods that I think most officers employ, but not everybody. I don't know. Are you saying that you don't see a problem?
I'm not saying I don't see a problem.
Okay.
The problem is more of everyone versus just the police and the police training. There's a fear and a lack of respect for law enforcement, but that fear is on the police officer's mind too. Like there's a fear that, all right, this could be routine, or this guy could, just not like authority, not respect authority, and he might try to do harm to the officer. That's what the officer's mind for any stop. Not even a stop, just a regular routine patrol.
Right.
I mean, you're right. There are bad people out there, yes, and some are police, but there are bad people out there also.
Of course.
And you can't just say you can't make a traffic stop and determine that on the type of car the person drives, or if he has a valid driver's license or not. People hide who their true selves every day, and that's both civilian and officer. So the escalation gets put because people don't know, and that's including officers. So a regular civilian might say, "Oh man, this police officer's going to try to hurt me," and then the police officer might think the same thing.
Which is why which is why that sniper incident actually is so harmful to police all over the country, and also to law-abiding citizens. Because you're right, it puts everybody on kind of a trigger finger, and that's not helpful to anybody. So, as I said, violence begets violence. It doesn't solve any of our problems. It never has. And we need to find a solution, I think, that can identify who the people are who have a tendency to have an explosive reaction to what they perceive is a lack of, appropriate deference to authority. Because there are cops out there, again, I'm not talking about the majority, but there are police out there who, is the second they perceive that their authority is questioned, they go berserk. And I've seen it. So, but that officer needs not to be in that situation where he's carrying a gun and a badge. Okay. Yes, we ask a lot of our police officers. Yes, they put their life on the line every day. And yes, they come to the job with a feeling that maybe today is going to be my last day. I get that. I understand that. But that's the job they've chosen. And so they have a responsibility to be and act better than ordinary people would in the same circumstance. They have to be trained to do that, and that's my expectation for an officer, that you're gonna be able to handle that stress and that fear in a way that doesn't bring harm to others. All right, Rich, I don't know if we lost him or what, but I do appreciate your comments and, your feelings about the police community in general. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Sandy from West Philly. Line 3, Eric. Hello, Sandy. Welcome to Court Radio. No, gone. See you, Sandy. All right, talk to Gary from Burlington on line 5. Gary?
Hey, how you doing? Good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. Enjoying the show. So let's hear it. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah. Well, I have a couple comments, and I'll try to be as brief as possible here. Of course, I'm upset, just like most of America is, with what's going on in our country right now. But there's a couple underlying factors here that, I said we all need to take a look at and really, put that pretty much at the forefront of what's going on. The black on black crime is one of the things that has to stop first, because we can't get out here and protest when a white officer kills a black man and we're not protesting on the black and black crime. I think that has to stop, because when that stops, then we as a group can all, get together at these rallies and have a legitimate voice to speak about. But, you can't say Black Lives Matter and it only matters when a cop kills a white cop kills a black person. Other mothers, fathers, they're losing their sons out in these streets every single day, and nobody's marching for them, which is absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean? And the minute a white cop kills a black person, they're out there marching, tearing up neighborhoods, destroying people's property, that people work hard for, stores, businesses, and everything else. I'm upset over that as well. But at the same time, with these officers killing these people, unjustifiably, it's like, when is the justice going to come around? When are we going to really see some action being put forth to stop this mess so that these people don't have to fear their lives out here? I got 2 grown sons, and I worry about them every day, because they see this stuff and they want to be, participants in these marches. And I worry about them because I know they'll get upset out there. And the first time a cop say something to them, I know my kids, they're going to flap off at the mouth. I want to get that phone call that my son got shot out in the street by a cop because he raised his voice. He spoke his right to be able to, speak his mind, and he gets shot for it. I don't want to get that phone call.
Right. And I think that's a real fear that a lot of people have.
Yeah.
Well, let me comment on that too, because somebody asked me, well, what are my civil rights, and how does that play a part of this this topic? And the answer is that you have a right to expect to be treated with dignity by the police when you're stopped. And if they don't, and you have a right not to be treated with excessive force, and when they don't, you have a right to not to have unlawful stops or unlawful seizures. And when they don't, you say and do nothing on the street, because that's not the place to exert your civil rights. Okay? Exactly. When that interaction is over, you can report that officer to his superiors. You can go forward on a civil action with attorneys like myself who sue departments all over the country all the time. But you don't do it on the street when you're at an unfair advantage. He has a gun. She has a gun. You don't.
Right.
Okay? And they're in control of that circumstance. And if they're treating you unfairly, improperly, then you have a remedy. But it's not then and there. Well, then and there, we keep our mouth shut. We follow directions exactly, and we do what we're told to do. It may not be right. They may be completely wrong, but it's not for us to exert our civil rights in that instance.
Right. And the other issue I have is with the police that, are speaking out. There's a couple of cops already that, voice some opinions about what's happening. One lady, black cop, her name was Nikki, I think it's Jones or Johnson. She just got suspended because she spoke out about this. You know what I mean? And she's very irate on the video that she posted about the police who, did this. And, if you, like she said, if you don't want to work in black neighborhoods, don't come down there. Don't put on a uniform. You know what I mean? And because she spoke out about this, she gets suspended.
Right.
And I don't understand where the justice is in that for her as an officer, that she doesn't have a right to voice her opinion about how she feels about this situation, and then turn around and about ready to lose her job. And they got other officers that's standing right there at the scene watching these people, other officers kill these people, and they don't do anything, and they won't speak up about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a very good point you raise, and I think that
there's a whole secret society out there of, hey, you know what? We all in blue, we got to keep our mouth shut. We can't speak about that, even though we know they're wrong.
That's how the show. That's how the show started. There are bad apples. Nobody can deny it to me, and you have to be able to identify them, uncover them, and get rid of them.
Yeah.
And so, all right. Well, anyway, thanks so much for your comments. Keep listening and have a great Sunday.
Will do. God bless.
Take care. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Enid from Northeast Philly. On line 4, Eric. Good morning and welcome to Core Radio. Hello, Enid.
Yes.
Good morning, dear. How are you?
Fine.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're fine. You got a question for me?
I have a question. I filed bankruptcy 3 years ago. The case is closed now, though, but I'm still paying the lawyer. Last year, since I filed the case, I applied for my Social Security and I got it. So she must look at my tax and see the change in my tax. So then she raised it up last year. Then she turned around again and raised it last year. I have signed for $3,000 and something. Now she got it up to $6,000. Is she allowed to do that? Because I have an increase in income?
Well, the answer is probably yes, because you're paying back in bankruptcy a percentage of the amount you owe.
I'm paying the lawyer fees.
The lawyer fees is based. Lawyer fees is based on a percentage of the of what you owe. And if what you owe is going up because your income is going up, then the fees will go up with that. Now, and if they have to file additional motions, was any other filings? Did any other filings occur?
No.
No.
Just this one. No more filing. It was just the one set up.
Just your original. Your original.
Yeah. The original one. My husband. The story is he died suddenly on me and leave me in a lot of stuff, and I know that I would have to work around the clock not to come home or nothing like that. And I'm really, at my age, I can't be doing all of that. So I filed bankruptcy in order to stay above, by paying the mortgage and stuff like that, to stay above the water.
I think bankruptcies are not filed enough, or let me put it this way. The law has made it much more difficult to file bankruptcies. I think that has kind of put people in a situation where they are going underwater and they're not being given a second chance. The whole point of bankruptcy is that folks should be given a second chance financially to kind of right the ship.
To stay above the water.
All right,
so
dear.
I didn't to do that, but okay, I got your answer. That's okay.
Enid, thank you for calling Court Radio. Have a great Sunday.
You too. God bless.
God bless. All right, New Jersey's inflamed. I mean, that's, most of the people today. Let's talk to Debbie from Williamstown, New Jersey, on the police brutality story.
Good morning.
Good morning, Debbie.
So I just have an opinion, and it's something I've thought about throughout the past year or so with all the different cases that have come up of just people dying in altercations with law enforcement. So I feel as though you're bringing in police officers, they're applying for jobs in areas where even growing up, they were told by their parents, stay away from, it's bad. So here they're getting jobs in these areas where that's all they know from growing up. So there's that fear from when they were a child. I feel as though when they're applying for these jobs, part of the whole process should be, along with the psych test and all the other stuff and the boot camp and the, gun training and everything, they should be made to spend time in that area, because I feel as though it's not just a 9-to-5 job. It's not a regular, take the train in town, sit behind a desk, go home at 5 o'clock. I mean, they are putting their lives on the line. And I feel as though maybe spending time at a Little League game, coaching a basketball team, getting to know the parents, getting to know the people, getting to know the kids, and just building that rapport with the community, I think would be safer for everybody in the long run. So that's just my opinion. I
think it's a good opinion, Debbie. And thanks for sharing your comments with us.
No problem. Have a good day.
You too. Folks,
Bye.
Bye-bye. It's people need to do things that can reduce the fear and the feeling that they're different than the people they're stopping. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and we all have the same kind of emotional reactions. And police officers, I think, should be in touch with the community in which they're policing. There are going to be solutions, I think, that we can find as, we try to wrestle with this. But we have to wrestle with it. And we have to admit that, yes, some of this is about prejudice. Some of this is about racism. And I say that in the sense that, listen, you're acting in a certain way toward a group of people and not giving somebody the individual benefit of the doubt for themselves. So 215-227-2727. Folks, thanks for your calls. Keep them coming. We're going to be right back after 2 minutes of sponsored announcements.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. It's Court Radio, and I am Dean Weitzman. It's Sunday, July the 10th. I like to do that because now the show is dead to us for replays because I mentioned the exact date. You can't excise that from here. So it's over. This show is in the can. You'll never hear it again. 215-227-2727. We're talking about, obviously, the police incidences this week with Alton Sterling and Philando. What's Philando's last name? Castile. Thank you. And the sniping of the 5 officers. A violent reaction. And I said it before, I'll say it again, violence begets violence. It's not something that's going to solve the problem. It's not an answer to this. We need to find an answer, and we have not yet done that. We've attempted to prosecute police officers who have been involved in police shootings that were videoed and appeared to be unjustified. How about the officers who were chasing a person down and shot him in the back? Some of these, you just can't imagine how they can't be prosecuted criminally. It's just, how can that be? It's so apparent that they've stepped over the line and entered into criminal behavior. However, on many occasions, we've seen, as recently as Baltimore, where police behavior is excused by the jury. The jury just cannot get to the point where they believe that the behavior rises to criminal behavior. But it certainly does not exempt the police department and the cities from civil liability. And these cases need to be brought as often as this happens. They need to be brought in order to begin to affect change. Because unfortunately, as so often is the case, policy decisions, political decisions are motivated by financial resources. And when you start to punish the cities and the departments for the bad behavior of a few people, and they realize that it's taking money out of their pockets that they need for other things, maybe then policy decisions will be made. And what are those policy decisions? We've talked about the fact that this is a very minute exception to what is ordinarily a fine job by the police. Every day these officers put on their uniforms and go out and put their life on the line for us, to keep us safe. And so the behaviors of a few taint it for everyone. And the question is, how do we identify the bad apples and get rid of them? And how do we change the philosophy of protecting their own no matter what? These are some of the questions we have to wrestle with, and we need to find solutions. And stop talking and find solutions. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to some folks who want to comment on this. Let's talk to Mike from West Philly on line 1. Good morning, Mike, and welcome to Court Radio.
Hey, Dean, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. What's your thoughts about today's topic?
Well, I got so much to say just listening to other people, but let me just try to get my thoughts out. This is not anything new. First of all, I'm gonna start off by saying that cops have been killing people, black people, way before the use of video cameras. They put video cameras in everybody's hands now via these telephones, and now it's just being recorded. But this has been going on forever. And you know that as well as everybody else listening. This is not nothing new over the past 15 or 20 years if you look at the Rodney King beating. But, it's just messed up that, what we see in today with these police officers, and, you can talk about a civil suit, and I'm the first not to encourage violence. But when you look at unarmed motorists being ordered to get their driver license and registration, and when they turn around to follow that lawful order, they get shot. When you look at people live, unarmed, getting choked out on the street by police officers. And then when you turn right back around and you watch a video of a white person who is clearly irate, who is clearly fighting with police, that is clearly banishing a weapon, and then these white police officers, they don't do nothing towards these individuals but try to talk them down, tolerate their nonsense, and do whatever they do in that instance. But the minute a black person gets pulled over by a car, by a police officer, these cops are shooting these people first, and then they're getting their stories together, then they're answering these questions. And it's not right. So I don't condone what happened in Dallas, but you have to understand the climate of the people. These people are getting tired of watching this stuff happening day in and day out. See, before we weren't seeing it because you didn't have video cameras in everybody's hands, and now it makes you wonder how many times you heard on the news about somebody, a black person, getting shot, and then there's no suspect. Because them cops probably did that stuff, and they covered up them stories like they always do. So if we as people are getting tired of it because we're seeing it more, and now we are reacting, or they are reacting, because I believe me, I have not the courage to do anything like that guy in Dallas did. But there's millions of people in this country. And you have to believe that some of these people are sick enough, if that's the word you want to use. I would just simply say frustrated enough.
No, I think
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right.
I think your first comment is more accurate. Sick enough. You don't get up in a building with a sniper rifle and kill 5 officers who have there's no connection whatsoever to what would.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. Not to cut you off. This is the thing. Listen, man, when and I'm not saying this right, and I need you to understand, I'm not saying this right for all you listeners. I'm not saying this right, but you got to understand this for one thing. Every time there's a police-involved shooting, what do the first thing they do? They don't even tell you who the officer is. They don't even identify who the officer is. Not saying it's right again. But sure, I would rather have a sniper go after police officers than I would have for somebody just to come in the building and just start spraying everything. And I'm not saying it's right again. I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah, well,
but you have to understand the climate of these people. And the police officers, they're the ones that are causing this. They're killing people that are following their orders. Show me your driver license and registration. And when they turn around to go do it, they shoot and kill them. They said, whatever happened to apprehending suspects? They don't apprehend anymore. That guy they just killed the other day, they had this guy down on the ground, and they showed the police officer pull his gun out of his holster and cop off a couple rounds in him.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to waiting for a backup and getting, okay, so if 2 of you guys can't subdue this guy, get back up, and 5 of y'all subdue this guy. Oh, but God, you ain't going to do that either, because Rodney King proved that. You just beat him.
Listen, I'm not going to disagree with what you said, except that it sounds to me like you're lumping the entire police departments into this. And I think from a command standpoint, you're right. They need to find a solution to this problem. They need to identify the bad apples and get rid of them. From a command standpoint, it's systemic. But an officer on the street who gave his wife a kiss goodbye, happens to be, a Caucasian, and gives his kids a kiss goodbye and goes out to do his job and has done his job righteously for his entire career, he's getting lumped into the same behaviors as these psychos who are killing innocent people who are reaching for their driver's license, like you said, like they were instructed to do. And so it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the normal, honest, legit police. It's not good for innocent people of color who are stopped and who are fearful every day that maybe today's stop means I'm not going to come home. And so I think that we need to find a solution. And maybe this social media that you talk about as being new, and yes, of course, I don't believe that this is a new problem. This is a problem that's existed through the millennium. But maybe social media puts such a spotlight on this problem that we truly will come up with better solutions to what's going on. I mean, that's all at this point. That's all we can do is try to come up with solutions, because otherwise, like I said, violence begets violence, and it's just, where does it end? It ends where none of us are around. I mean, Martin Luther King said it. If we can't find a peaceful solution to these problems, then there will come a time when none of us will exist. All right. I'm getting down off of my soapbox, but no, I mean, I think it's important, and I think it's a story that we need to talk about. All right, let's talk to line one, a Philadelphia police officer. Okay, that's cool. Good morning and welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. What are you thinking about this?
Well, sir, I think the truth is that there's a lot hurt. Police officers are hurt. The public's hurt. There's just a lot of hurt going on right now. But the problem is that we have to look at everything. We always want to Monday morning quarterback cops. It's a white thing, it's a racial thing. But then cops really get up and think, man, we're going to make a racial crime today. I mean, it's just so unbelievable to think that we would do that. And, a lot of these cops who go out there, they do their job every day. We're out here doing it, serving the city, serving the public. I mean, yeah, I'm a white police officer, but I serve, African Americans, whites, my community every day, and to sit there and say every job is racially motivated. Now back in the 60s and 70s, absolutely. Did African Americans have a hard time with the police? I absolutely agree with them, 100%. It was very, very tough. Does that mean every encounter with the police is bad? Not at all. 99% of us, white police officers, go out there and treat African Americans with great, great respect. Do you agree with that?
You didn't hear me say anything other than that. That's a narrative that I've repeated over and over again since the show started at 7 o'clock this morning. But it's the 1% or 2% that we need to do a better job of identifying. That's all. I think that even you would agree that there are some officers throughout the country that have, whether it's a prejudice, whether it's an inclination to get aggressive too quickly, whatever the instance is, there are people who shouldn't carry a gun and have a badge, and we need to identify them and get rid of them. That's all.
I agree with you with that, but here's my issue with that now. We want a Monday morning quarterback all these issues. The Baton Rouge issue. All the evidence isn't even out yet. We're on the radio. It's racially motivated. We don't even know that yet. I mean, do you understand how hard it is to struggle with somebody with a gun? This man had a gun on him. I don't care how many, if you have 2 cops, 3 cops, when you're fighting, I mean, we've had 10 cops.
You're talking about the Alton Sterling. How about Philando Castile? He's reaching back to get his driver's license at the instruction of the cop, and then the cop pulls his gun and kills him, shoots him 4 times.
Okay.
And listen, we have to Monday morning quarterback it. I mean, we have some evidence. We can, in the media and folks can talk about this, and we're gonna have our opinions. Ultimately, you see that most juries give police the benefit of the doubt.
Correct, because I believe that after we look at all the evidence and we see and we judge in the eyes of a police officer, there's nothing else we could do. I understand what you're saying, Philando Castile. We don't have all the evidence yet. We don't know what's going on. We have a video of a female after the shooting took place, find out, oh, yes, he shot we don't know what led up to that, and that's what my issue is. When all the evidence is out, that officer might be wrong, and we can't excuse that. but we don't know yet. And everybody wants to get on the air and say it's racially motivated. That's not true.
I don't care what the motivation is. I'm not saying I'm not in that officer's head. I don't know what he's thinking. And I don't care what the motivation is. I want our officers to act in a professional fashion, and I want them to de-escalate, not escalate violence, and I want them to always give the folks they're stopping an opportunity to vent if they need to vent, but not to immediately start to throw gasoline on a fire at that point. Anyway, listen, I think that we're talking about the same things, and maybe what happens as a result of this is that this discussion brings about change. I think that change is good. I think that to a certain extent change is necessary. And if an individual officer was justified in his actions, that will come to pass too. It has in the past instances. It will come to pass that they will be exonerated from whatever wrongdoing we thought they were involved in.
But that's the issue. So you just made the great point of saying after it passed. But what about all the protesting and all the fights and the fires?
Hey, listen, it's America. We're still allowed to protest. First Amendment right.
Why do you have to do it so violently?
That's not a protest. That's a psychopath with a rifle. The
gentleman, and the gentleman that you got on before says, "Oh yeah, that I'm not going to say it's right." But I can understand that. There's no ever thing to say that's correct.
You're absolutely right.
Behavior, black, white, or orange, that is terrible.
Yes. And it makes it, and not only, and it makes it bad for everybody, and it doesn't solve a single problem. We're on the same page. Thanks for calling Court Radio. Have a great Sunday. No, really, thanks for your comments. It brings a whole, I want everybody to feel comfortable coming on to Court Radio. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation about police brutality, excessive force, social media's involvement, and what your thoughts are. We'll be right back in 2 minutes.
You were just hurt. It's not your fault. You're in physical pain. How do you get better? Who is going to help you recover? West Philadelphia Associates has highly trained doctors and staff that can help you today. Don't wait at a hospital. West Philadelphia Associates will work with your attorney, providing documentation of all injuries and the best plan for treatment to get you back to the life you deserve. With diagnostic studies to better detect injuries, West Philadelphia Associates doctors and staff will help you recover. West Philadelphia Associates, here to help you get better because you deserve it. Call 215-471-4714.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years. You've had an accident and can't work, but your legal case seems like it's taking forever, and the bills are piling up. At ThriveVest.com, we're here to help. If you have a pending lawsuit, call us at 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com has flexible solutions to get you money now. And if your case doesn't settle or you don't receive an award, you owe us nothing. Call 888-697-7352. ThriveVest.com. Get the money you need to get on with your life.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm Dean Weitzman, and it is Sunday, July the 10th. A beautiful Sunday it is. Go out and enjoy it. Just as soon as we conclude Court Radio, we got another 6 or 7 minutes to take your questions or comments. We've been talking about police-involved killings of people of color and what it is that motivates that, what social media, what part does social media play in maybe finding a solution to that? Because continuing violence is not the answer. And what happened in Dallas is the actions of a psychopath who had a rifle and some abilities to kill 5 innocent police officers and wound a lot more. And that's not going to solve the problem. It may make the problem worse, but certainly not going to solve the problem. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Kaz from South Philly. Good morning, Kaz.
Good morning, Dean. How are you?
I'm doing good, and you still got the coolest name for a Court Radio listener.
Appreciate it, man.
Tell
Dean,
me what's going on, Kaz. What are you thinking about all this?
I'm listening, and I have been listening from the beginning of these incidents. And let me first say this, Dean. You can't solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. And in saying that, I'm listening to the officers that are calling in, and I don't hear any accountability for their actions. If you have people that are abiding by the authority that is set in front of them and trying to do their best to be upholding person in any situation, a car stop being interaction on the street, and you have a diverse attitude towards this person, how can we mediate that? And I'm listening to your question, you know, and it's the beautiful question. How can we begin to resolve some of the issues within the community between the police officers and the community? You know, when I was growing up, you had kids in class that say, I wanted to be a police officer, I wanted to be a fireman. You can go around a massive urban community now and ask kids, what do they want to be? And none of them will ever say a police officer because they have a fear of them.
Yeah.
But this fear hasn't just been instilled by what they're seeing. This fear has been instilled in them by what they're experiencing. You know, and it really is going to take a lot of moral searching because it seems like these officers are going out here in this field, and I totally agree with you. It's a lot of officers that don't deserve to carry that badge and that gun. And they need to be weaned out and get rid of. And the accountability of the cities and being responsible for these officers.
Right. We want this is a very difficult job. And we the expectations are very high on how you have to be able to conduct yourself in that job. Most people couldn't handle it. Okay, that's the truth. Most people could not handle that job on a day-to-day basis, and they're not paid enough either, and it's just crazy. But, okay, if you want to have that job, you've got to be the best of the best. You've got to be able to bring your A game all the time. And if you're not that kind of person, then we need to figure that out and find another job for you, because you can't carry a gun and a badge and really make matters worse.
Exactly, and honestly, like I was saying, it comes down to the morals of these individuals who are going in and applying to be a police officer. You have to be a people person. There's no way around it. You have to be able to adjust and multitask and being able to diffuse a situation and use calmness when you're faced with aggression. You know, aggression with aggression is going to have a big boom.
Agreed, Kaz. Agreed.
And you know, that's the problem that is beginning to be more and more forefront.
Well, all right. We know what the problem is, and we know what needs to be done, kind of to identify them. The question is how at this point, and you know,
it's going to take a lot of sit down and refurbishing the mindset of the candidates that are going in for these police jobs.
And it needs to happen. It needs to happen from above as well, not just from within.
Absolutely. They got to trickle down.
Yeah, the political leaders that we've elected need to find solutions to this problem, because that's why we elected them. Okay, to protect us and to make sure that society rises up, not is pulled down into the abyss. Kaz, thanks for your comments. You know, Eric said you're going to be the last caller, and he was right. But we got to go. Keep on listening. Thanks for